So, with a very short intro, we got Joe, we got Sally, we got Donna. This is combined of what 60 years of experience. Joe has 50 of those 60, and Donna and Sally got about five, because you're in your mid
Because we're
30s.
too young to have that much experience.
Of course.
Yeah. And Joe, he's like, I don't know, 75 now. I don't know. Anyway,
Ancient.
I'm just gonna start right off the bat. No intros here. My first question is basically, and we're talking about multiple offers and how to win them. I think everything starts from you having a good conversation with your buyer beforehand, right? And set up expectations. So share with me what would you be, what would you talk about to your buyer, and what exactly would be that would look like that conversation. And whoever wants to be first, that's fine with me.
I'll go.
Go
Okay.
ahead, Donna.
Okay, so right off the bat, so back in '04, when everything was selling in a minute, we were writing contracts in cars. And this is before there was electronic signatures. You would be with someone and you'd say, do you want to buy the house? They're like, well, we're 25. We'd like our parents to see it. No, you can't. You got to buy it. You got to buy it now. So we were writing contracts. Back in the day, you'd have to fax it to the office. They would print it. They would go to the people's house to get signatures. They would scan it or fax it back. By the time you had a contract, it was this big. But so we're kind of there again. And, and sometimes they have to lose a couple to be able to jump the next time. And I think we're showing maybe a little bit more houses because they're not ready to, but I'm absolutely preparing them, saying, hey, look at the 5 that you wanted to see on Monday are already sold. If you like something, you have to write and prepare to go over asking.
The other part of it too is I have a serious conversation with them about what their goal is for the house, right? Because I don't want them to overpay beyond the appraised value, number one, if A, they don't have the money to make up the difference, and number two, if they're only going to be in the house a short time. Like it has to be, in order to really pay well over asking or above what you can justify on a CMA, they need to have a plan, an intention to be in that house for 10 years or more. Because otherwise, there is a chance that it will take longer for appreciation to catch up. I mean, obviously values go up as people pay more for houses, right? The values go up, but it's got to stop sooner or later, right? So if they're going to buy at the top of the market and want to sell in 2, 3, even 4 years, they could be behind the 8 ball. Especially if interest rates go up too, now they're at risk for a short sale. And I'm not in the business of setting my clients up for foreclosure. I'm just not. Taxes go up. That's the other thing. Okay, they may say, well, we can afford more. Okay, well, what if the taxes go up next year? Because now values are going up too. So now taxes are going up. You have to have some serious conversations with them about, it's not just what it is today. It's like long-term too. Like if they're tapping themselves completely out on the purchase and there's no room for taxes or insurance to go up, which always has the biggest effect on the monthly payment than the mortgage does, then you could potentially be setting them up for foreclosure, right? Or a short sale down the road. So that has to be looked at as well. I mean, modest depreciation normally in normal times is what, 2 to 3% depending on the area. 4? Yeah, it depends on the area, right? Joe, you're on mute.
There we go. My Zoom.
Is average about
Well,
4?
I have this screenshot somewhere. Historically, it's 4%.
Oh, that's from the thing today. Yeah,
that's right. It was right from today.
And that's nationwide. I mean, those numbers. Anytime we're on with KW and they're talking to us, Gary's talking to us about numbers. They're talking nationwide. Okay, so values in New York, values in LA aren't going to be the same as values in Chicago or even like in Des Moines. You know what I mean? Like we're all looking at different stuff. So you have to know your local market. And sometimes even the hyper local market of the city, like Des Plaines versus Park Ridge versus Arlington Heights, they're different. They're all different. And sometimes, like if you're in Chicago, so hyper local that it's the neighborhood. So I think that we have a responsibility to have more serious conversations with them than just about what is getting into a bidding war look like today. If you win this bidding war, can you live with what you've won? So for me, that's a big part of my pre-conversation when we're in a market like this. It's part of my buyer consultation. Like Donna said, we have to prepare them for what happens when you're in a multiple bid situation, but we also have to prepare them for the circumstances, if they win or don't win. And,
Right.
and another thing I tell people, if they don't win, I'm like, you didn't win because it wasn't your house, man.
Right, yeah.
Trust me when I tell you, the house that's meant for you will be your house. And I have never in 25 years had one buyer say to me at a closing, you know, Sally, this is a really nice house and we're happy we got it, but we really wish we had gotten house number A or house 21, whatever. They've never once said that. They've always been happy with the house that they got and excited about moving in. So you just have to wrap their head around that too.
Yeah, that's the big key there is the buyer consultation.
Absolutely.
Are you saying that no matter the market, here's where it is, here's what's going on.
Yep.
And well, you know, the number one thing is make sure they get truly pre-approved, not just pre-qualified or a pre-approval, but truly pre-approved. And we always talk about what payment are you comfortable with? You might qualify for 500,000.
Yeah, same here.
But you come the payment that you're comfortable with is actually 350.
Right.
So go for 350, not for the how much you qualify for. It's got to be what are you comfortable with? And right now, even with these prices and interest rates, the percentage people are paying for their housing is lowest that it's been in many years because the interest rates are so amazing. But like Sally said, you know, what happens if this goes up? What happens if that goes up? That's what you've got to talk about is what are you comfortable with? Because we know taxes go up and everything, as a general rule, almost everything goes up no matter what they say. So that's a big part. And then explaining the market. Here it is. Here's what's going on. I was kidding with Tony the other day. I was out showing some homes and I've had buyers out there. They're looking in a higher end and they're just amazed at the market. And the person is very business savvy. He's like, I could have bought the mansion around the corner for just $30-some thousand more 6-7 months ago. Yep. Yeah, you're right. And if I do this and I put this money, I've got this much money into it. Yep, you're right. How do you, that was then, this is now. This is, if you want to play in the sandbox today, here's the rules.
Right.
And then, you know, I've got a whole list of stuff to discuss as we'll see where Tony takes it. But here's what's going on. Here's what's happening. Like Donna and Sally said, if you want it, buy it. We've had people jump out of the market years ago for what Donna was talking. I really want my parents to see it. Well, see the 18. Remember, we also used to leave business cards. Did you see this house has been on the market for a day and a half? There's like 18 to 20 realtor cards. One of those people is going to buy that house tonight. This house tonight.
Yeah.
You want to be in the mix or don't you?
Yeah.
And I can't buy a house this way. Well, if that's the case,
then this isn't the house for you.
Then no, or sit on the sidelines. Sit on the sidelines, watch the prices go up, and you hope they might come down, but they might not. So, you know, and Sally, you were mentioning we had a graph today. The average person still in a house, I think it's like 75%. 8 or more years or 7 or more years or something like that. So we've all had the people, we're going to be here for 2 years and out. And then, you know, 12 years later, we're not going to sell yet.
Yeah.
So, you know, they might think that, and it's true. And the market fluctuates, you know, and we talked about that average of 4% nationally. That's probably about what we've seen in the Chicagoland area. But some years it's 7%, and then you'll have a whole bunch of 1%.
Right.
So it's, you know, we can't predict it. We don't know what's going to happen. We can only say, here's what it is. If you're here for a long time, you pay down the mortgage, You know, your payment doesn't change except for taxes and insurance, and you're locked in. So, and I remember earlier, if you're going to be in the town and everything else, planning for a number of years, at least you got a roof over your head. No one can take it away from you unless, you know, you're not paying for it, and you start paying it off and paying it down. And even if it doesn't go up in value, you can have it paid off if you do some work in 20 years.
Well, and a lot of my younger buyers, their mortgage, their PITI is less than the rent they're paying. And I'm explaining the tax ramifications of that too, with the write-offs and everything. So.
Yep.
I want to, as a side note here, talking about price and, you know, being comfortable with your payment. But on the other hand, I'm looking at my buyers from 2020, and I think that they're very fortunate looking at the market right now. First of all, there was some competition in the summer, but not as rigorous as right now. And second of all, the same houses that they bought then for 300,000 or whatever now are what, 30, 40, 50,000 more. So my question is, would that be the case maybe in a year time? So maybe the buyers should be a little more aggressive, because maybe this will be in their best interest. I can't predict the future, I can't tell, but with money being printed, so much money in, you know, in the economy, I think the value of the dollar goes down, and with the interest rate. So, you know, this is like a fine line. Nobody can say what it's gonna be, but what are your thoughts on that?
You're right. We can't say, we don't have a crystal ball. My crystal ball's been in the shop for 25 years. But here's the thing. It has to plateau, right? At some point we have to plateau here. Interest rates are going to go up. Everybody's going to get back to work. All the stimulus stuff is going to go away. And the economy is going to do another shift, right? And do I think it's going to implode like it did last time? No, I absolutely don't. But do I think that we're going to start seeing some fallout from COVID, COVID-related real estate fallout? Yeah, we are, because there are people who are in forbearance right now for anywhere from 3 months to a year. And depending on what their forbearance contract reads like, they might have to come up with a lump sum of money, or they might, even when their forbearance is up, they might still be out of a job and not able to pay their mortgage. There were people who were in foreclosure before COVID even hit. Those foreclosures are going to proceed quickly, eventually. And anybody who wasn't in foreclosure but went into foreclosure due to COVID-related issues are going to have to either short sale or potentially lose their houses if they can't do loan modifications. Investors who have had tenants living in their buildings for a year without paying any rent could also be facing some financial hardships now because of this, in which case they're going to have to unload, and they're going to be like, what will somebody give me? And that's going to affect values. At the bare minimum, they're going to plateau. And, you know, not having a crystal ball, only having my gut and women's intuition, I'm going to say that, you know, there is potential for the values to slip a little. And that's why I'm saying, like, anybody who's buying and willing to pay over asking needs to, at least right now, have a commitment to be there for a while, to ride out and see what the next probably 2 to 4 years has in store for us with the COVID fallout in real estate. I'm
seeing some short sales already.
I know, I am too. And it's, you know, admittedly, it's more the lower end properties, but it's really only a matter of time.
And I got to tell you, I don't want to touch one right now. I think it's going to take a long time. I think the attorney
take a long time.
Those people in, and it's going to drag out. I'm not.
Well, and the banks are going to want them to attempt loan mods first.
Yep.
Just like FHA requires that. The banks are going to want the homeowners to first make an attempt at a loan modification. And if the loan modification is denied, then they will be more agreeable to working with a short sale. Yeah.
Yeah, that's part of it. But now equity is the highest, well, in the Chicagoland area, equity is highest that we've seen since probably pre-2000 or so.
Uh-huh.
So there's going to be less short sales. People are going to squeak by. We've got some dealing with. There are going to be some short sales. You know, there's always a certain percentage of the market that's going to be distressed, whether it's foreclosure or short sales. No matter how great the economy is or anything else, there's always going to be some out there. We just got to remember how to do them. I mean, it's still no magic to it. However, the banks will have them jumping through the hoops like they normally do. But the beauty of it is now people in forbearance their equity is stronger than it ever has with the appreciation that's happened over the past couple of years. And the same thing with the short sailors. So we're not in the situation like we were, 2006, 7, and 8, where people were doing all those zero down, interest only loans, mortgage to the hilt. They weren't doing that. And then if you guys remember correctly, and for those who don't, all those resets. So your interest, you had that like 1% interest rate for 2 or 3 years. And then all of a sudden it went up to 7. So your mortgage payment went from like $1,000 a month to $4,000. And those people were like, I'm out.
Right.
That was the big snowball in all the foreclosures. And that's not on the horizon, at least not now anyway.
You know what, Joe, that brings up a good point. Like maybe we start reaching out to people who did either FHA with low downs, and maybe they can refi and get rid of their PMI.
That's what I've been doing. I've been sending mine CMAs and saying, hey, now's a good time to refi if you're in a position. And so what I'm discovering is that, some people have taken second loans out. So, that's the thing. You can't use your house as a cash station either, during the time that you own it. Because then when something happens in the market, that affects your equity. So yeah, they had equity, but they already took it out. So, now, okay, maybe they have a little bit more, but they don't have as much as they would have had.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Well, that's the danger. Some of the people that I'm seeing squeaking by now paid a lot lower amount for their home, but then they refied in 2006 or 2007 and pulled out a whole bunch of money and found themselves.
All right, let's go back on the multiple offer thing. And so we talked about our steps is having a good, serious conversation with your buyer. Something that Donna mentioned is about her client asking to see 5 properties on the weekend, and by the time the weekend comes, they are gone. I had the same experience. So clearly, time is of an essence. So talk to me. What do you do now specifically that kind of gets you first through the door, and how quickly do you write an offer, and how does that work?
Me?
Yeah, let's start.
So you're jumping, right? If something hits, you got to jump. You got to get out there that day to see it. And I'm working with a guy who works nights, so it's really hard. I'm showing her in the day. You got to be a little more on top of things. But do you want me to talk about multiple offers or no? Like, are we going there yet or no?
Sure, go for it.
Answer this question and then we'll go or whatever. I don't know how Tony wants to do it.
To see, so how do you how do you position yourself to be in a multiple offer situation? Because very often I'm like, by the time I see it, or by the time I go out there, I already see that they're all in a multiple offer situation. And I had an agent last week cancel my showing and said too many showings. That was her answer, and I said, well, why? And she said, for 3 days we had 40 showings, 5 offers. The seller is tired of showing it anymore and wants to be done with it. So
we're also seeing houses going under contract in the private listing network, which that's another whole class that I could go to town on. But so say you get out there and there's multiple offers. You got to write an offer that day. So you got to have these pre-approvals written. You've got to have my client. I just worked with a young couple and they had a form letter with a picture of their kid. They're holding the kid's hand and they were just jamming in new addresses and we were sending them with every offer. So my packet looks like this, and it's a letter here. Hello, we are the blank family. Here's our kid. We can't wait to, do this and this. Then I've got the contract. I've got the pre-approval. I've got a copy of the earnest check. I did 3 last weekend. There were multiple. I won all 3, but I did 1 this week and I didn't get it. And I'll tell you what I'm saying to my people. I am saying, let's go in with your best foot forward. But first of all, I find out how many offers there are. If there's only one, I sometimes say go 1,000 over asking, go 2 over asking. How bad do you want it? If you really want this house and we think it's, if I could do a little CMA for them and I don't think 5 over asking is high, go 5 over asking. Are you going to kick yourself tomorrow if the person paid 363 and you would have gone to 365? Then give the 365, right? But so the one that I didn't get, well, okay, so yeah, so the one I didn't get, I told them, I go, hey, we did everything in our power to do this. They only could put 15% down. We did an escalation clause. So I wrote the contract full asking 385. We did a 1,000 over the next highest offer to cap out at 395. We also said we will still honor the 395 if we're not the highest. Like maybe someone did 400, but they're 3% down. So we said we'll still honor the 395 even if we're not the highest. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So here we have the letter, a beautiful contract, no contingencies. Here's a pre-approval from a lender I've used for 20 years. I tell the agent, I do a lot of backup with the agent too. Like, hey, I've been doing this 20 years. I'm not some new person. I've been working with this lender. He has never once let me down and didn't close on time. They're not with Rocket Mortgage that they clicked online and applied. We have the disclosures. I have a copy of the earnest money. Don't make that agent say, okay, I got your offer, but do you have the pre-approval or proof of funds? Have that packet prepared and ready. So that agent, you're making it so easy. This agent can literally just print your package and sit with their people. So I did the 3 this weekend and, I scrambled on a lot of them, but I say, get everything, use an escalation clause. I don't believe in telling someone to waive inspection or go as is, unless it's a gut job and they're going to totally rehab that house. Because what's happening out there, a lot of agents are pulling the buy it as is, and then the people are taking them, then they have their inspection and, oh, wow, there's A, B, C, D, and E, and they're trying to ask for it. Well, that's not, maybe ask for one thing if you do as is, but you can't do as is, win the deal, and then ask for a laundry list. And then the people are like, as is was just a sham anyways. They come back on the market. You're not operating in good faith, in my opinion. And then that property comes back on, and then it's a red flag for everybody else. Like, oh, what happened? It just hurts everybody. But, like I say, I don't want anyone to overpay. That is not my game at all. And like Sally pointed out, I don't want to sell your house. Like when people would call us in 2010 and say they bought in 04, you're just like, oh, here we go. Because they're down, right?
Underwater,
so
right.
I don't want to have that house later. So
Right.
But
Not that way.
But that being
not that
said,
way.
at 2.75% over 30 years, 2,000, are you kidding me? Get the house.
Yeah.
Get the house.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you, these young buyers, they think they know it all too. So, like all you can do, you can lead them, and it is what it is. And I think, if you don't get it, there's a better house out there, Sally. I'm a total proponent of that. And I'll just add one really quick thing. I've had appraisal issues lately, and we got out of a deal in Wheaton. A house 2 doors down went on the market. We went in, it was way better. We went, full asking or whatever, came in 20,000 short on appraisal. The seller was an agent and had to come down. I talked him into coming down. He went down, and the house that they were going to buy just closed for like 8,000 more than we paid. And we got like a brand new kitchen, brand new bathroom. So things do happen for a reason, but navigating these young buyers, and it's their first house, and they didn't get their parents in to see it. It's scary, and I get it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, that's a wrap.
Sorry,
That covered a lot of my list.
She covered a lot. Yeah.
Bill, you want to go
Good
next,
job.
and then
So I'm trying to think of what I can add to that. I think obviously communication with your client is critical, as well as communication with the other agent. If your client is interested in that property, when you're walking out of that house, you should be calling the agent. and say, hey, look, I didn't do that. About a week and a half ago, I showed something and I didn't do that immediately when we left the house. By the time I got back to the computer, it was under contract.
Wow.
I was pissed at
I'm showing
myself.
something tonight and I already
Yeah.
texted the agent, do you have any offers in hand? And he said they're expecting one. So I'm
Yeah.
relaying that info right to my seller. I mean, my buyer.
Right. So we have to be professional right from the get-go. If you're ever in any of my classes that talk about, making and receiving offers, your presentation of your offer starts when you call to make the appointment, or even email or text or whatever, or do showing time, whatever. If for whatever reason, if you're rude in any way, whether it be to a staff member or an agent in a text, whatever, and trust me when I tell you, people are watching the house all the time. Don't be a jerk when you pull up in park and when you get out, because that's all part of your presentation, right? You will be remembered for anything that you do that is not kosher, and I don't want to use kosher, but it's not polite, is not professional. There's all kinds of cameras and
There's
speakers
cameras
and everything everywhere. They're in the stinking stuffed animals. Be careful, okay? Because all of it is going to connect back to you when it comes time to make your presentation. Always fill in the contract completely. Donna's 100% right. Her package is spot on. Just make sure that you're filling in every blank on the contract. If it doesn't apply, you're putting NA there. You are
That's what
filling
I
in
do.
every single spot. And guess what? The agent's information. Put it in there. Come on now. I mean, it's in the MLS.
That will make him happy.
It will. It just shows that you're detailed, right? It's how detailed are you? Because when I get an offer written like that, or when agents get my offers, they're always like, oh my God, you didn't miss anything. You have every detail in here. You make it so easy for me to just have my seller sign it. I'm like, yeah, that's the goal.
One more thing I did on one of mine. I really wanted them to get a home warranty because the house, everything was kind of that 15-year age. I said, listen, guys, normally I would enclose a home warranty. I'm going to buy it for you. These are my good friends, referred their kids, whatever. I said, I don't want to put that in. What if, we're both 385, we're apples to apples. So, but we're asking for this $500 warranty. I said, I will buy you the warranty. Rest assured you're good for the first year. And, that was one of the ones I got. I don't know if that put us over the edge, whatever, but
but that's a good thing. And I mean, there's a lot of places in the contract that you can be different, right? So buying as is one, and it depends on the scenario. Buying without an inspection at all, again, depends on the scenario. Like Donna said, if they're going to gut it, who cares? Buy it without an inspection. Who cares? They're gutting it anyway. Also adding the warranty, and you paying for it on behalf of your buyer. What else? Increase your earnest money. I mean, typically I'll do $1,000 initial earnest money, and then I'll increase it after attorney review and inspection. Well, if I'm in a multiple bid situation, I may be like, no, guys, we're putting it all on the table right now at the initial time, and that's it. So have your lender call. You call the agent, have your lender call the agent, and reinforce the qualifications of your buyer. Not that many people are doing that. The letter's a great idea.
Just spouting them out. Yeah.
Yep. The letter's a great idea. I have my clients do that as well. Is it going to matter to everybody? No, but is it going to matter to a lot of people? Yeah. And I've won multiple bid situations solely on the letter before, and we weren't highest price. So you never know what piece is going to make a difference to that seller.
Right.
But remember, there's somebody between you and the seller, right? It's that other agent. You have got to be on board with that other agent. And even if they rub you the wrong way, you have to bite your tongue till you're tasting the blood and stroke their egos and be professional. You absolutely have to do that. Do agents have to tell you if there's multiple offers? No, they do not. And there have been situations where I've had the listings and I did not say it, and people were upset because they didn't get the property. If my seller doesn't tell me to say it, I'm not saying it. Does an agent always tell you how many offers? No. 2 offers is multiple offers. They don't have to tell you how many they have. Should we ask the questions? Absolutely, because agents have loose lips. They tell you everything. But when you're representing the seller, you have to remember not to throw your seller's hand. So, but when you have the buyer, it's a different scenario. You want to ask all the questions that you probably shouldn't even be asking because they're going to tell you. And that's, maybe going to help you and your clients. Stress the fact that your buyer is serious. This is a serious buyer. We're not trying to play games. We're not trying to get under contract and then tomorrow they're going to have cold feet or blah, blah. No, this is a serious buyer. Maybe even share a little bit. You know what? We've been in multiple bid situations before. They know exactly how it works. They're prepared for it. They want a home. They want your home, and they're serious buyers. So let's put this together. Let's put this deal together, as a team. Everybody's on the same team, right? I had jotted down some notes. So the other thing is we can't win them all. Like we said earlier, some aren't meant to be. But you really have to build trust with the other agent and with your clients. Because unfortunately, sometimes we get clients who maybe we don't have as great a rapport with as we thought we did, or as great a trust factor and loyalty between you. And sometimes, they might blame you for them not getting the house. I'm not saying I had this situation because I had only one time and Kim knows that story, but it's the same people that Kim and I always talk about, always. But
do we have to mention that?
every time, Kim, they're like a bad penny. But you just don't get them all, and it's because they're not all meant to be. So, you can make sure you're
cash. If someone's cash,
sometimes you can. The seller's getting cash. The seller's getting cash no matter what. When the seller walks away from the table, they're getting a check that they can go put in the bank.
Yeah.
But it just depends.
Depends on the number.
It depends on the number. It does. And also like FHA 3.5% down, 5 or 10,000 higher than the cash deal. It's not going to happen. If you've got a 20% down conventional approved can close in 10 days, like Michelle can do for us. Okay, you're competing with cash. You're a strong competitor with
Absolutely.
cash. So
and don't
really
write a VA or an FHA when the house has, crumbling. You gotta don't.
You have to know
Yeah.
what's not going to pass FHA and what is, or VA. Yeah. And guys, there's newer agents on this call, and there's well-experienced agents. So much of what we share with you, it's 20 plus years of experience. Experience is the greatest teacher. Don't be afraid to get your experience. Okay, you just got to do it, and don't be afraid to call one of us if you're stuck and you're like, holy crap, like what? I just don't know what to do.
Okay, I have a question, Sally. I can.
Sure.
Okay, yesterday I showed one of the property, it was a short sale.
Yep.
And today it's like the status says it's temporary. So what might be the possibilities? Why did they take out from the market, temporarily?
Call and ask.
Yeah, you got to call the listing agent and
Call
ask.
and ask.
It could be any number of reasons. Somebody could be sick in the house. They could be having company. They might be reviewing multiple offers already, so they don't want to continue showing. They just want to review the offers they have and accept one. It could be that they've accepted an offer and they're just processing the paperwork right now to get it to formally put it under contract. But yeah, you have to call the agent and find out.
Okay, so I think I got it because it was multiple offer situation. So
Yeah.
It was.
I actually just did that exact thing. I had a condo and it's a lady in a nursing home, and I had like 8 offers on the first day, and then we went to present them and she didn't know what day it was, so we had to take a step back. The doctor had to be called in. Is she competent? So I put it temp, and everybody was hounding me. Where was my offer? Well, and 3 weeks later, we just got the letter yesterday. She's not competent. We're going with the power of attorney, and we have the offer. But I did the exact thing. I had multiple.
Yeah, you just can't keep
I
showing.
keep showing it.
It's more offers and more offers, and you just can't.
I was going to call, but yeah, we got a meeting, so I just asked you. Yeah.
Oh yeah, no
And
problem.
the thing is, we're all just guessing. You have to.
Yeah, there are
call to find out.
possibilities. Yeah.
Call to
Definitely.
find out. So,
Okay, thank you.
I'll go with
you
my
say
list
what?
now. What's it, Tony?
What can you tell us that can strengthen our offers other than the price? What other terms or things that you can do?
Well, it starts by like what the Donna and Sally just said. You got to call the listing agent, and I have in parentheses, make nice. You have to play nice, especially in this market. It's not us
Yeah.
against them. I've always said, you know, the line I've always used, hey, we're all in this together. I use that with loan officers. I use that with appraisers. I use that with home inspectors. I use it. We're all in this together because that's what we're in. That's what it's about. And then you ask the questions, like I said, about getting all the intel you can. What can you tell me? What's going on? How many offers do you have? Do you have multiple offers? One question I especially now, like, what's important to the seller? Because we know price isn't always the most important thing. What's important? Is earnest money important?
What's a perfect closing date?
When do they need to
that's
close?
usually
I call every one of them.
Do they need time to find a house?
What's the best closing date for your seller? Now, if it's vacant, it's probably quicker, but however, we don't know, you got to ask. And that's where framing the offer the best way you can, because price isn't always king. We've been having the loan officer call the listing agent. We won one where we weren't the highest price and we were putting minimum down. And this listing agent's been in the business for over 20 years. He said, I've never had a loan officer do that before. It went a long way with the seller and the listing agent, and then of course the seller. And he made a comment on, wow, this contract was really filled out well. So that they knew things were going to go smoothly, and that's what they want. The seller's biggest fear, once you're through attorney's review and home inspection, is that the financing isn't going to happen. And if you can have a loan officer say, listen, these people are truly pre-approved, they can actually afford more than this, blah, 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 blah. I did this, I pulled that, I did this. We will get this closed. Now you're competing with the cash offers like Donna or Sally had said.
Right.
Earnest money, have it due right away. One business day, the full amount, here you go, we're all in. These are serious buyers, you know, as opposed to $1,000 now, $9,000, even if it's $20,000 more after AI could last till the day before closing.
Right.
So show that you're all in, fill it out completely. We talked about prepare buyers, earnest money. One other thing we didn't discuss, the clear to close date. Move it up. You know, you're closing in 6 weeks or 8 weeks, have the clear to close in 30 days.
Right.
You can, it's a contract. It's one of the terms.
Right.
You can adjust that. And then after you send the offer in to the listing agent, say, I sent the offer in. Did you get it? Do you have any questions? How are we? I always ask. So what do you think?
How are we?
What do you mean? What do you think? What do you think? We got a shot? We good? We the best? Well, you know, I can't really say. Well, you can, between me and you can tell me. Give me a hint.
Joe, I think you made a good point about, you know, we all want the same result. We all want to, you know, the sellers want to sell, the buyers want to buy, we all want to make money, but being the friend with the listing agent, you know, having a good relationship is huge. And I'll tell you, because the seller's going to be like, oh my God, there's 6 offers. What should I do? They're hiring that listing agent to guide them through this process. So do you want to be the nameless, faceless guy who just shot off an offer and we don't know anything about you? Or do you want to be me who I said, hey, these are my friends, my friends' kids. I've shown them 20 houses. They came in your house. We saw, we wrote, we want to buy this house. Here's all the stuff. They're great. Here's my lender. He never lets me down. We are golden. These guys are golden. They're already, you know, approved. You know, I mean, you want to be that guy is going to be like, hey, you know, I talked to this agent. These are rock solid buyers. You know, I don't know anything about Joe Schmo over here. So you want to be friends with that agent.
Yep.
Right.
And that's, you know, a big part of it, and calling afterwards and asking, how are we? Where are we? I mean, I've had agents call me and do that, and they weren't the best offer. Now my job is to take instruction from the seller, but do in my seller's best interest. And I've told the agent, you know what, Sally, I think you might want to do a little better.
Mm-hmm.
What did that just do? That got an even higher offer for my client.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
What how much I can't tell you. I'd love to tell you, but I can't. But if I were you, Sally, I'd do better.
Right.
Does that hurt anything? Nope. And then if you get that from the listing agent, you can go to your buyers and go, you know what, we're in the mix. However, you know, we might have a shot.
Right.
The other thing is we were talking about letters, just so everybody knows, and as your designated managing broker, all of the realtor boards recommend against letters.
Really?
Yes, read your emails from Carr,
Right.
from Main Street, from North Shore.
Why though?
Because there could be information in there that's a protected class or about a protected class, or might do something that says that. Now, you've heard the results. Read the details of what your realtor boards tell you on how it can be handled or should be handled. I'm obligated to let you know that it could get the buyer, the seller, and or the realtor in trouble.
Huh.
So
Never
Joe,
thought
be
about
careful.
that. But
You
I
got to
see
be
how that
careful
could.
what's said in it. That's so.
Yeah.
If you want it, they can maybe send it to the listing agent separately. Read the information sent out by your realtor boards and their attorneys and what they recommend. So
Joe, off the record.
Who reads the emails, Joe?
you're killing me. You're killing me. What's that, Tony?
Off the record, do you use them or your team? The letters?
I do not. I don't know if Robin sent them in or not, or I don't know if Gene does. I as a general rule, I don't. I'll do the talk with the other agent about some of that stuff, or I attempt to have it speak for themselves. Maybe that's, I don't use them because I'm cruel and heartless. However, I personally don't have my buyers do it. Have we had some in the past? One say, here, pass this on. I'll pass along. I definitely will pass along the information, especially when we used to present in person. That's when it was
Yeah.
even more fun. And there's another
Those were the days,
that
Joe.
maybe
Those were the days.
ask the listing agent, hey, when are we going to present? When are we going over to the seller's house? Let's meet, or come to our office. I'll be happy to meet you and your clients in my office or your office or a Starbucks. I mean, if you're really interested in that, that's one of the takes. It was fun doing that back in the day.
Yeah, it was. I agree. And deals didn't fall apart willy-nilly like they do now either, because everybody looked each other in the eye and shook hands.
Right.
They made deals.
Yep.
They made agreements. Hey, one more thing to add on that. If you're writing something over asking, and maybe even over what the CMA says, but we know that, you know, the appraiser can probably push it to that, or maybe not. Another thing that you could do to strengthen that higher bid is to have the attorney drop an addendum to the contract also regarding the appraisal and the contract price, that if the property appraises for less than the contract price, that the buyer will pay that difference, and then also provide the proof of funds that the buyer has the funds to do that.
Do they have the money?
So
We're
that's
doing it in
another way.
Seattle,
to
like
strengthen-
75,000 over asking. Seattle's off the charts, with a lot of states are, or cities are, but in Seattle, one of my friend's kids is out there trying to buy something and she's going 7,500 over asking. They're all pulling appraisal. It's crazy. It's the wild, wild west for sure.
Yeah, for sure.
And I would probably, you've got to be really cautious with that, but sellers are starting to ask that now. Sellers are
Yeah.
starting to really get bold.
They
Mhm.
are.
We've had some of
the-
those come across in the PC program.
The other thing is, I don't think I'd ever recommend not having an inspection.
Me neither.
But
No way.
No,
not-
I
even
would
if-
do the as is with
Yeah,
inspection.
right. And let them explain,
not
this
with
is
it.
truly, it is truly as is. And the seller can bounce you if you ask for anything. But if you're going to go as is, let the agent know, hey, listen, just so you know, this is truly as is. This isn't we're using the as is, but then we're going
Right.
to renegotiate on the back end.
Right.
We're going as is, and I'm telling you, you got my word, blah, 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 blah.
Right.
So that again is that communication and
Mhm.
talking with the listing agent, not just by text or email, and actual, pick this up. This does phone calls as well.
I guess
Yeah.
the only time,
I tell a lot of agents, did you call the listing agent? Well, when I texted her, no, did you call we were texting back and forth. Did you call the listing agent?
Did you hear their
No.
voice?
So you need to call and talk and hound. And I've had agents where, I sent you an offer. Okay. Or I want to send you an offer. Okay, call me. I'm in a meeting. Call me after your meeting. I'm in an appointment. Call me after your appointment. I'll text them back. So, well, I want to talk to you about it. You gotta borderline being obnoxious and not if they don't want to talk to you. However, I want to talk to them. I want to hear their voice. I want to hear what they have going on. I want to know what's going on.
Right.
I'm
And
gonna
they
add one more
they
thing.
should appreciate it.
I'm gonna add one more thing. So I had a listing. It was a estate sale, an older woman in my neighborhood, and I had 10 offers on like the first couple days. We gave it, I always recommend, if I come on the market on Thursday, I recommend going through the weekend. Some people are like just jamming out an offer and accepting one. It's like, I think it's in your, again, it's up to the seller, but I think it's in your seller's best interest if you give it like 5 days. That's just my opinion. So we'll say like, say we already have an offer. I'll put in the MLS, hey, multiple offers received, looking at highest and best Monday at noon or whatever the seller instructs me to do. But I had one, and this guy got he won it. He wrote, the seller can leave anything they want in the house. So they were going to be prepared to just get a dumpster for, $500 to $1,000 and empty out the stuff. Cause I had these kids who were from a different state, trying to scramble through, this house full of crap. So that's a good thing. And I will try to use that in the future. Let them leave whatever they want. We'll take it.
It's a hassle. So
because it's a hassle, especially when younger kids are selling it and they don't want to do anything.
As is, where is, right? Can have your client write it in. As is, where is. We'll take it.
So Joe, give me a pros and cons on the escalation clause.
On the what?
Escalation clause.
Escalation clause. Well, the Main Street's recently changed it where you don't have to necessarily, I think it's Main Street's one. You don't have to necessarily give your top dollar, which is interesting. I never used to recommend them because I wanted my clients to go in strong, solid contract. Now in the past 6-8 months, it's like, well, it's not necessarily a bad idea.
I like it. I think it's good.
The cons are you're kind of showing, what's that, Donna?
I like it, but I do think you're right. It shows, but
you're showing your hand how much you're willing to pay. However, in this market with such low inventory, and it's not that such low inventory. The inventory is down. It's the demand. If there was no demand right now, we wouldn't be complaining about the inventory.
Exactly.
It's the demand that's driving the market, as well as not as many houses out there. So, the con is you're showing your hand about how much you're really willing to pay, and can there be monkey business with that? But I think Main Street has the second thing where you don't have to put the top dollar, which I guess kind of lobs it into the court of the seller to say, here's the highest we have. Are you willing to go up to that? So, they've adjusted the forms a little bit. However, if you're willing to go up there, you can do it. It's the market's shifted such that maybe it's not a bad idea where you go in at, 355, but we're willing to go 375 instead of just going, hey, here you go. Because before, up until just several months ago, if you were $5,000 or $10,000 above asking price, you were almost certain to get it. Now that's not the case anymore. So times have changed, for at least for a little while.
Okay. Well, a lot of useful information. I just want to touch base on one more thing before we're done, and it's past the negotiations and getting the contract. Obviously, you're doing an inspection. Now, I think inspections are more crucial than ever, because if the deal falls apart because of it, you don't just go back on the market with the buyer, but you go to a crazy market that God knows when you're going to win another one. So do you have a more serious conversation with your buyer about the inspection items and what's reasonable and what not? Or you had that beforehand? How does that go?
Well, I've always had that discussion beforehand during the consultation and before the inspection. Hey, listen, here, remember the contract we mentioned during the consultation, minor repairs, routine maintenance items are not part of this contract. Just because something's old, as long as it's working. If the roof's old, that's okay. You can't ask for it, or you're not supposed to ask for it if it's keeping the rain and the snow out. If the furnace is old, we knew that. We looked at it before, we saw it. Inspections are for things we don't know about. And especially, it's like, you know what? We had 7 offers that we went against and we won. Good for us. If you ask for anything, the seller can say, sorry, I actually had 5 more offers come in and they're all better than yours. Sayonara, goodbye house. So you have to explain to them, here's the situation, here's where you can go. This isn't time to renegotiate. This is to find out if there's any major issues wrong with the house. So that's
Like
how.
health and safety issues is what I always say. Like if there's mold in the attic, obviously you didn't see that when we wrote the offer. But, you know, I hate to say this, but like, you know, multiple offers sometimes are the kiss of death, you know, like whoever wins, it's like, oh crap, did I overpay? So, you know, it's a fine line there.
You didn't overpay because it's the law of supply and demand, and this is the market today. Even if an appraiser says you overpaid, doesn't mean you overpaid. It's the market. If you had several offers in at the asking price, you probably didn't overpay. An appraiser or a bank might say you did. However, the market dictates price. So
I'm going to leave. I got a client coming at 2. It was great. Thanks, Tony.
Thank you.
Donna, you're wonderful as always.
Bye. Thanks, guys.
So I think we're ready to wrap it up then. Any final words?
No, does anybody have any questions that were unanswered?
I just want to share one thing. I mean, tons of useful information. Thank you. But a lot of my buyers usually say, I want to get a good deal. And when they say that to me now, I said, a good deal is actually getting a house. That's what a good deal is right now. And then everything else. So, okay. Thank you, Joe. Thank you, Sally and Donna.
You're welcome. Thank you.
I did want to mention one other thing. If your buyers aren't prepared for this market, then you got to talk to them. Let them know. And some of you have heard me say this. Are you intending to buy a house or just put in offers?
Yeah.
Because if it's at 3 1/4 and there's 10 offers in and they go, well, you know, we want to go in at 315. That's where you have to have the heart to heart with them and go, it's a waste of time. I'll do it for you. But this is going to be a waste of time, your time, my time, the seller's time, the agent's time. You want to buy a house?
And your emotions too, because it starts to wear on them, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
And the other thing is, I'm sorry, go ahead, Joe. No, go ahead.
If they're qualified for up to 350, you don't show them houses at 350.
Right.
Unless maybe they've been on the market for a long time. You show them 3 1/4 because of what the market is. So.
Well, and that's what I was just going to mention, kind of the opposite of what you just said. If you have a buyer at 350 and you can't find them a house because of the multiple bid situations and everybody bidding overpriced, what I've been doing is I've been looking at homes that have been on the market a long time at a higher price than the 350, because at this point, if they're maybe their agent isn't doing a good job of explaining the market to them or what, but they might be more likely to accept an offer for 10 or 20,000 less if they've been sitting on the market a long time. So if you're having trouble getting your client a bid because you're looking only up to their max and they're in multiple bid situations every time, stretch the list price, but also be mindful of how many days on the market. If they're 30 days on the market, they might not be ready. But if they're more than 30 days, 60, 90, I've seen some on the market for a year. I mean, come on, it's insanity. So either A, it's not a good house, or B, they're just at the wrong price point. So you might have to stretch beyond, to find them a home. And just one thing I always want to remind everybody, we make a lot of money. Okay. We make a lot of money on these transactions. Earn your money. Just do the job. Find them the house, sell the house, whatever the case may be. Hold their hand through inspections, go to closings, whatever you are able to be at and do. That's how you're earning your money. It's not just by filling in the blanks. It's not just by putting a key in the door and then filling in blanks. That's not where you're earning your money. So just stretch yourself a little.
And just like everybody said, that I just want to throw this in there because I have a few of my PC peeps on here as well. The importance of that consultation, I just cannot tell you, because the initial consultation, everything that you've taken in today from this, put it in the consultation and a communication with your buyer in a way, because when they're sitting with you at that consultation, they have excitement, but they don't have extreme immediate emotion at that time. They're more going to be listening to you and taking everything in at the consultation, and repeat what they say back to them continuously. Take great notes, because when you're out in the field and time is of the essence and they start pulling but I want this and let's do this, then you can immediately just have that one liner. Remember when we said the consultation, we talked about this? Oh yeah, you're right. Okay, thanks. And then you move on and you hyper focus on what needs to get done and when it needs to get done. I cannot tell you how important those consultations are. You establish your communication, you establish all of what the market is, because it is going to help you and your client come together, be on the same page, and know exactly what the market is, what their options are. And, you know, like you just talked about the inspection aspect, go over everything on that. In the inspection, you may feel this, but this is what it needs to be, blah, 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 blah. And so the best educated client is going to be the somewhat easiest for the most part. Except for, you know who, Sally, even though we educated them to the point of oh my goodness.
I don't know if buying 5 homes and doing 5 inspections isn't enough. But also not only repeating what they say to make sure that you're edifying and reinforcing what you've heard and understand from them. But if you see that they're glazing over when you're explaining something important to them, ask them, do you understand? And if they say, yeah, I understand, I say, okay, great. Can you explain it back to me now?
Excellent point.
And I have them explain it back to me, what I said, so that I know that they're interpreting it the correct way and that there's no misunderstanding, you know, about it. So it's important to repeat, you know, each other at different stages.
Great point. Yes, absolutely.
Excellent.
Okay. I'm done.
All right, folks.
No, you're not.
I'm never done.
Thank you, everybody.
Thanks, Tony.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Nicely done, Tony. Everyone else, thank you.
Thanks, Tony and crew.